Who has the best Wordle streak in the world? I do, unofficially. Here's how I did that. The whole thing started a while back with two ideas. First, I'm a big fan of speedrunning. Not actually doing it, but watching documentaries of other people doing it. And after watching enough speedrunning documentaries, I wanted to set a world record of my own. So what's a game I'm good at, but also really enjoy playing? Wordle. I used to play Wordle Unlimited for fun, which led to idea number one. What if I set a Wordle speedrun record? I looked up the current world record, and I pretty much gave up when I saw the time. The record is like half a second. Idea number two. What if I set a Wordle streak record? So I searched around for the longest Wordle streak. I looked on Reddit, news articles, and I couldn't find a single answer. And that's where my delusion started. Why stop at breaking the highest person's answer streak? Speedruns have a 100% category where you complete every possible part of a game. Why not 100% Wordle and set the max streak possible? And with that, I was ready. I was gonna set a Wordle streak record by solving every word in a row with no mistakes. 2,315 words. If I lose at any point, I have to start over. And if everything worked out, this would be the world's first 100% Wordle speedrun. And since nobody's done this before, my run would be the only run, which by default would be the world record run. I did a few test runs, but this is my first recorded attempt. I didn't know anything about recording, so I got no mic audio, but trust me, you will be able to feel my suffering from just video. In about half an hour, I lost at a streak of 81. That's 3.5% of the streak I'm going for. But I was still excited. Not bad for a first try. Runs 2 and 3 ended at 41 and 16. I was doing worse each time, but I believed in my strategy. What is the strategy? Well, most people play Wordle with the same starting word, something with a lot of vowels like audio, or common letters like stare. But if I use the same 4 starting words, I can get most of the letters and save a lot of time. The whole point of a speedrun. How did I pick the 4 words? I just Googled 4-word strategies and picked the one I liked. Comet, Flash, Brink, and Pudgy. This was the first run I crossed 100 on. I was in the zone. Then, it was the first run I crossed 500 on. I started to get nervous. I was hours in, I knew if I lost, I had to start all over. At 645, I got stuck with 1 guess left. I was stressed. Raider? Tater? The answer is neither. I was devastated, but it was a new personal best. Over a quarter of the way there. Still a long way to go, but I had hope. You might be wondering, why 4 starting words? There are sets of 5 like these. Doesn't 25 letters basically knock out the whole alphabet for you? The short answer is anagrams. The long answer is a 5-word set might tell you all the letters in the answer, but not where they are. And since Wordle only gives you 6 tries, using 5 of them on starting words means you have only 1 guess left to get the answer right. In a situation like this, is it dowry or rowdy? It's a coin flip, and it only gets worse. In a situation like this, you have to guess between siren, risen, resin, and rinse. And when you've got a streak in the hundreds, you don't want your chances of success to be 1 in 4. If you use 4 starting words, you'll always have 2 guesses left over, which is way better than 1. The problem is, sometimes 2 guesses isn't enough. I lost at 679, just barely making a new personal best, but devastated after playing for over 3 hours. Little did I know, this was just the beginning. When When you use the same words over and over, you start to see patterns in the clues, like you're in the Queen's Gambit sitting the board on the ceiling. I could rearrange the letters into words in my head. I crossed 500. I crossed 679, breaking my old record. I crossed 1,000 for the first time. 1,480 words in, I lost. I was devastated. Over 6 hours of playing, the longest run up to this point, just to lose on Bont. I didn't even know that was a word, but at the same time it was over double my last streak. My first time passing the halfway mark in this challenge. So I didn't feel terrible. But I didn't want to play for another 6 hours just to lose on a word I've never heard of. So I knew what I had to do. I looked at the Wordle answer list. It feels like cheating, but if you think about it, speedrunners can study every level of the games they play. The levels in Wordle are words, so I don't think there's anything wrong with looking at them. I'd say it's fair game, but I never looked at the word list during a run. Looking at the answer list was really helpful. For example, on runs 3 and 4, I lost on the same word. Can you guess what the answer was here? If you need some help, the only A-T-E-R words are cater, eater, hater, later, and water. Because there's no C-H or L, it can only be eater or water. So the answer was actually guaranteed here. I just had to try both guesses, but I was stuck between raider and tater, which aren't even possible answers. Looking at the answer list also taught me words like droit, eclat, iliac, swami. After looking at the answer list, I at least recognized every possible answer. Right? On my last guess, I tried oxide, even though the clues told me this letter was an O and not an I. 19. On guess 6, I put Bobby, even though I should have known from the clues this letter was an O and not a B. 67. On guess 5, I put upset, even though this E shouldn't go here. I was upset. Then I guessed stoop and lost. 4. I had no idea what this word was. I guessed edits, even though I knew there's no S. Then I put lighted. I don't even know what that is. That's 6. 4 straight runs, 0 of them crossed even 100. I kept making mistakes that I knew I should have avoided. I was frustrated, but I kept going. I was doing better. I broke the 100 curse. I thought wince made sense. What would you guess here? The answer is Nice. Nice. The last 4 runs were tough, but this one broke my spirit. Remember when I said 5-word sets were no good? I was starting to wonder if 4-word sets wouldn't work either, or maybe I was just using the wrong 4-word set. Either way, I needed to find out. Since Wordle gives you 6 guesses, and I'm using 4 starting words, I'll only ever have 2 chances to get the answer right. So I was looking for situations where there's 3 possible answers left, which would be bad. More than 3 would be even worse. I spent days writing a Python script that could run through all 2,315 games of Wordle, type in some words, take the clues from each game, compare them against the answer lists, and then tell me what the possible answers were. I tested 5 different sets of 4 words. Here are some starting word options that I tested that I knew wouldn't work. Light, candy, power, bumps. If you use this set, there's this situation where there's 6 possible answers. With 2 guesses left, that's a 1 in 3 chance of getting it right. There are similar issues with stale, chirp, mound, gawky, slant, price, dull, balmy, and unfortunately, comet, flash, brink, pudgy, the set I've been using. With all these sets, there's situations where you have to pick between 4 and 5 answers, but there was one set left. 3 years ago, CoolTrip878 posted on the Wordle subreddit with this 4-word set he spent a month working on. These were the 4 words that would get me the rest of the way. You never have to guess between 6, 5, or even 4 answers. The worst case scenario is 3. But I realized, even with 2 guesses and 3 possible answers left, even if the first word you pick is wrong, the clues will actually tell you which of the other 2 words is right. So you can actually guarantee with 100% certainty that you can get every Wordle right. There wasn't any more luck involved. It was all up to skill now. By this point, I'd been playing with Comet, Flash, Brink, and Pudgy for over 15 total hours, so it took some time to get used to the new words. But even with that, I was getting stronger. I felt like I was in Limitless or The Hangover. I could see the letters, and the words would come. In past runs, I made a mental note of the time it took to reach 100, and on this run, I got there in record time. But the faster you play, the more mistakes you make. And when you only have 2 tries to get the answer right, 2 mistakes in a row will cost you the game. I still felt good about 227, especially for a first try. I just needed a balance of playing with speed and caution. Playing fast is fun. It's the whole point of speedrunning, but if I played so fast that I kept losing, I would never win. So I gave up some speed to play a bit more carefully. It took about half an hour to get to 100, but that was okay. I was in the zone. 200, 500, 1000. With the old words, it took 6 runs to cross 1,000. With the new words, I got there in 2 tries. The nerve started to get to me. I was almost at my personal best. And I made a mistake. Avert was a bad guess here. There's no T at the end. I was between Taneri and Terra, but I had to guess. I went with Terra, and I was completely wrong. I hadn't even considered extra. Remember those 3-word scenarios? This was one of those. And I realized I had to make a plan so I didn't get through 6 hours of playing again just to lose on one of these words. So here's what I came up with. There are 12 dangerous words, and depending on which one you're facing, you have to deal with them differently. First, extra, Taneri, and Terra. I had to recognize when the answer might be one of these words, because if I wasted a guess like I did with Avert, I would have to pick right, and I would only have a 1 in 3 chance of getting it. A 2 in 3 chance of starting over. Then, there's the slightly more dangerous state, stave, and tease. Which word would you guess here? If you do put tease here, you might guess right, but in the 2 out of 3 universes where you don't, you'll have no clues left, and now you have a 50-50 shot of winning or losing. If you guess stave, you'll always be okay. Either you guess right, or the clues will tell you if it's state or tease. Then there's the trap words, jaunt, bont, and taunt. Let's say you end up here. What word are you guessing? The answer is none of the above. Since all you need to know is one letter, putting a separate word will tell you what the letter is, which tells you if the answer is jaunt, bont, or taunt without having to guess. Same with paper, parer, and payer. I just need to know one letter. So if I guess Dopey, it will tell me if the answer is paper, parer, or payer. I had every scenario covered now, but I wasn't done yet. I wrote a script that would type fades, brown, might, and pluck when I hit my function keys. I'm a slow typer, so auto-typing fades, brown, might, and pluck was going to save me a lot of time. With the new shortcut of auto-typing, I wanted to see how fast I could hit 100. I got there in under 16 minutes. But like I said, the faster you go, the more mistakes you make. And I was going faster than ever. 2 mistakes in a row, and the run was over. Losing never felt good, but I didn't feel terrible. It was just a matter of time before I got to 2,000, then 2,315. I had the right words, the automatic typing, the word knowledge, the experience. I could feel a win just a few runs away. I pulled out the dopey strategy to figure out that the answer here is pair. Same thing half an hour later for paper, then para. Another 30 minutes and I recognize this as Tiri, Terra, or extra. Then I recognize state, stave, or tease. The strategies were working. I was gaining momentum, but playing too fast leads to careless mistakes. Like here, when I saw B, E, and L, and without thinking enough, I said belly or bell. I'll try one, then the other. Big mistake. You can actually see my soul leave my body. This letter isn't even an L, it's an E, which means it's either bevel or bezel. But now I only have one guess left. I'm stressed, but I go for the guess, and I get the 50-50. My soul re-enters my body. I have a couple hours of smooth salt. I re-enter a flow state. I pass my personal best. I pass 1500 for the first time, then 1600, 1700, 1800. Crossing 1900 makes me a little nervous. I've never come so close to 2000, and that's when I make another mistake. This one was actually the opposite of the last one. I thought bezel or bevel, but there's no E here. It's actually belly or L. And once again, I have to guess. 50-50. Guess right, and I'll probably cross 2000 for the first time. Guess wrong, and the 7.5 hour journey comes to an end. Yeah, that one was painful. By this point, you've probably thought to yourself, this guy spent way too much time and energy playing Wordle. To which I would say, yes, I did. And 1900 is the record for longest streak. I could have stopped. But I didn't come this far just to come this far. I had played for over 24 hours combined. And I wasn't done. So half an hour later, I queued up again. I reached 100 in 15 minutes. I hit 500 in 90. Before 3 hours had passed, I'd hit 1,000. I stopped there to continue the next day. I got to 1500, and then I played all the way until 1900 before taking a break. New day. I passed the previous personal best. I crossed 2000 for the first time. 2100. 2200. And when I got to 2300, I knew I was in the end game. 15 words left. The home stretch. Hours and hours of research, playing, strategizing, losing. It all came together for this moment. One word left. I was nervous, excited, and then I realized I know it. A deep breath before bringing it home for the last time. I was done. I was confused why there's no special end screen. Then I hit next and saw the end game message for the first time. I'm laughing at how absurd this whole thing was, and there's no way to describe how satisfied I am here. I wouldn't trade this journey for anything. Almost 7 hours to solve every Wordle. And I know this isn't an official speedrun, but it counts to me. Josh Wardle, if you see this, thanks for creating Wordle. The end message is actually from Vincent, the creator of the game. Do you mind telling me how you did it? This is how I did it, Vincent. Thanks for making the game. None of this would have happened without you. Maybe one day, I'll get an official speedrun record in some other game, but that's a story for another time. To anyone who made it to the end, thanks for watching.